James Ham of the Insiders here.
Real quick, two things. Kieran Bagley asked, you can't bet on wrestling. I think you can.
I think you can.
You absolutely can bet on wrestling.
And sometimes if you pay close attention, you can see what's happening. You'll see odds swinging one way, and it's oh, someone knows what's happening.
Yeah, you absolutely can.
What was the other thing you said?
No, I was just I saw that. Yeah.
I got robbed in Prize Picks last night. I don't know if you guys watched any of that this morning when we opened the show.
Well, I saw your tweet. You said something about you were not okay, but I didn't understand what was going on. I know it was Prize Picks, but I didn't know what you missed on.
I hit 5 out of 6. What I didn't hit was De'Aaron Fox at 29.5 points. He finished at 29.
Oh.
And that whole going to the free throw, why he didn't go to the free throw line when he got fouled, I'm not sure. And then the last play of the game, Harrison Barnes rips down the rebound, which I had Harrison Barnes at 4 rebounds. That gave me that one.
Yep.
He kicks it to Herter. Herter passes it to Fox, but before Herter can get it to Fox, he gets fouled. Man. And then he has a steal at the end of the game where he doesn't go and score. So it's one of those bonus plays, which I hadn't done before. And, I did my standard $20, placement.
Mm.
Yeah, it was $2,000 if that 0.5 happened.
Wow.
I still won 200. But yeah, that one hurt.
Those isn't Prize Picks. You can, so it's not like a parlay, right? Like you can still win money if you get 4 out of 5, right?
If you get 4 out of 5, it was like $8. If you got 4 out of 6. If you got 5 out of 6, it was 200. If you got all 6, it was, and it was like, it's almost like a teaser, right? So it was a more difficult version of just picking 6. I took more difficult, like, again, it was like, I think Curry at 5.5 rebounds, Sabonis at 0.5 3-pointers. So it had some, like, there was a bunch of weird ones there, but yeah. Bummer.
Damn.
Yeah, that's tough. That's why I don't play Prize Picks or anything else.
I have a sponsorship, so like, look, I've
got that's a good
play
call.
Prize Picks.
That's a good call.
Yeah,
that's a good call. James, are the vibes back? Beam team back in full effect?
Man, it feels like it, doesn't it? I think, like, whatever was like ailing this team behind the scenes, they put it to rest, and that's what it feels like.
I think the bad vibes died when this picture was taken, right? Tony right there front and center, and Domas just smiling from ear to ear.
Someone said Matt's camera was in the way. Well, move, Matt.
Yeah, that's it.
He is known to do that on occasion, Tony.
That's our man, though. That's our man. But Domas just smiling from ear to ear. Mike Brown crashing press conferences. Brissett asking questions, like, it felt like the a win against the Hawks and the Warriors, and man, we're back cooking.
Yeah, I think you saw the smile on a couple of these guys' faces, like even coming into the game. You saw it even, the last game you started to see a little bit more of it, but they've been going through some stuff, and nobody likes losing. And nobody likes to call this the dog days of the season because, you lose 4 in a row and it really messes with your placement in the standings. You take 2 of those and you put them on the other side of the ledger and you're 11 games over 500 and you're the 5 seed, right? And that's the tough thing about, wins and losses at this point in the season. They all matter equally at the end, but, you feel like you could have been building something and you didn't. You took a bunch of steps backwards. So I think they're on to something with this whole Harrison Barnes thing. I don't know how long it lasts. I don't know if it's to make sure everyone around the league knows that he's still a very good player. But we've been talking about this all season, right? Like it doesn't feel like it's as much a Harrison issue as it is a just, numbers issue. Like there's not enough like shots to go around. And he's the 5th man in the starting lineup. And realistically, he's behind Malik Monk as well when it comes to how many shots you're giving him. And you gave him 44 shots over 2 games, and he showed you what he could do. And so I think you need more of that. And whether he's here long-term or not, if that's who he can be, he probably should have shown that a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago when you were scuffling a little bit and you needed somebody to step in and really take on some of the weight off of Fox's shoulders and Sabonis's shoulders. But yeah, it's good to see.
Real quick, Casey, sorry.
Yeah.
The NBA doesn't think that the Kings vibes are back. Sean Cunningham just tweeted, the Kings have lost their TNT matchup with the Clippers on April 2nd.
What? What do we do?
The game that will take its place? The rescheduled Mavericks versus Warriors game.
Mm.
What the hell?
Yeah, that's tough. You did already gain one, so maybe that's why. But
no, not acceptable.
That is, those two teams could suck by then. The Warriors
One
could
of those
be
teams
tanking.
could suck now.
But, yeah,
no, they suck now. But I'm saying they both could be in that scenario.
Yeah, well, hopefully,
that's awful.
Hopefully, the Kings help start that.
What is it?
Momentum.
Would you say it was April 2nd?
Yeah, the Kings have lost their TNT matchup with the Clippers on April 2nd, and the rescheduled Mavericks versus Warriors game will take that spot, and the Thunder versus Sixers game will be the early game on TNT. Again, that is according to the temporary insider, Sean Cunningham.
These people who make the national TV games they're not bright. They're not bright. Like their idea to put Wemby on there 45 times, and now
stupid
Mavericks Warriors.
Yeah, it's in the email. Yeah, that's for sure. That's a market game. No,
you'll be watching that.
Anyways, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you to bring you that stupid news.
Yeah, that's terrible. So
Harrison. I thought we were probably transitioning to Harrison.
Talking
about the way that he played.
I was trying to think because I had two Harrison questions. I think the one that I was going to ask was, did you see a difference in what the Kings did with Harrison offensively for him to get all these shots, or was it, in your opinion, purely on Harrison's aggression, being shot ready, all this other stuff? Or a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both, but I also think there's an extra motivation there because it's the Warriors. So, he's got beef there and he likes to show up and play well there. At the end of the day, I think Harrison, he listened when they said, hey, we're going to transition to, more Keegan Murray options here. And we're going to try not to take away all of everybody's plays, but some of you guys are going to lose out here a little bit. And he probably listened too closely, and he probably thought that was aimed at him. And like I think he got in his head a little bit about how this was something that as a leader if it's somebody else's turn, you got your money, you got your 3-year contract. Now it's time to, be a role player and be a good soldier and do whatever it is a team needs. And I just think that over the course of time, it became easier and easier and easier for him to just say that that's kind of what his job is. And then all of a sudden, whether it's the Kings went to him and said, hey, this is kind of the plan, or the team themselves said, hey, we need you to step up. It seems like that 3 days off really, really impacted Harrison, and not just him physically, because I don't think that's been a problem. I think it impacted who it is that he needs to be right now for this team. And, again, that could be for a lot of reasons. You could just be showcasing him to make sure that, 29 other teams know that this is still a legitimate NBA basketball player that just has a different role on this team. But either way, Harrison needs to take it to heart, because if this is who he can be, there's no excuse for the 2 shots or the 2.0 rebound or 1 rebound games. That's not who he should be as a player. If you can do this, you can go out and put up, 71 points over 2 games, then you can average 14, 15 a night still. And I just think they need to get back to who they were a little bit last year. And the fight to bring Keegan Murray along as a player to develop him, it's the right thing to do. But you can't have all of these players kind of acquiesce their position on the team in order for that to happen. It's got to be some of that, and it's got to be everybody, sacrificing like Harrison talked about. But it also has to be you finding ways to be impactful, and I think he's showing that he can do that. And I do get his like I don't know if you guys heard his post game. He said, "Look, I think people forget, that it's not just all that. Sometimes it's setting screens. Sometimes it's cutting really hard to the basket, so it opens up a lane for your teammate." He's like, "I'm doing all of those things. It's just the scoring aspect that I haven't been doing." And I would respond, yes, the scoring aspect, but also the rebounding aspect, and even like getting to the free throw line aspect. Like there's a lot of game that Harrison Barnes has that the Kings actually need, and it's not just him standing in the corner shooting threes. Like there are times they need him to stop the game by getting to the free throw line, and he stopped doing it. And so hopefully this is an eye opener for him.
There's a lot to talk about with Harrison. I want to mention something about Mike. He laughed about this at the post game last night, and Domas, and I think it was just Domas who spoke glowingly about Chris Duarte and Kessler Edwards. But what is Mike doing when he does that? Like, Chris Duarte played 2 minutes in the first half and then was never seen again. And then out of nowhere, Kessler Edwards music hits and he comes out and plays. And I didn't think Chris Duarte was very good. I didn't think Kessler Edwards was bad at all. Like, what is Mike looking for when he does that?
I think what it is very specifically with those two is, can you go out and defend? Can you go out and slow somebody down that's, with what's happening in the game? And to be honest, I wasn't paying all that much attention to what Duarte was doing because he wasn't in the game very long. And it was even, they came out of a timeout. Next thing you know, the game is going. And it took a minute or two to actually figure out he was in the game. And by the time he was in the game, he was out of the game. So we've seen Mike do this in the past where he'll give someone a shot in the first half. And if it's going, they stay in. If it's not, they don't. I think last year again we saw it with Terrence Davis, and there were other players that he was rotating in. Even Shemezi Metu, it's like, okay, what Shemezi's doing tonight is not what we want and not what we need. Let's go back to what we were going to do before, or Plan B. But at the same time, I think it's upon each one of these players to say, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready in this moment to go out there and make a difference. And to Kessler Edwards' credit, I thought he was. He's active. He's been down in the G League and he's been having a really good run in the G League to stretch his legs a little bit. There could come a point where they need him, right? And especially if a big trade happens, and there could be a game or two where you don't have any other options but Kessler Edwards for 25 to 30 minutes a night. And it's good that he's down in the G League stretching his legs out and getting ready. But I kind of want to see him with a different group. I want to see him with the starters, not with other players like him that don't score, that don't have that sort of arsenal. And if he's like the fifth man, like what Harrison Barnes is, but the fifth man and with the starting group, even if it's for 3 minutes in the second quarter, I think that's better than having him as, a guy who has to be one of three options that have to be the second best or third best scorer on the court. That's just not who he is. And, I think he can be a 3-and-D guy, but he also shows you that you need that guy, just a much more mature, ready to perform veteran version of it.
I agree with you, James, and I know a lot of people are down on um, Duarte playing, and I don't have any problem with Mike doing what he did in that situation. Go to him, see what he's got. You know what I mean? Like, staying with him would be the issue, but see what he's got. See if he can be effective. If he get into a groove. If he can't, all right, that was 3, 4, 5 minutes of rest for one of your bench guys. You were able to do that as well. I think he's probably also looking at the score as well. Like, if you're in that situation and say you have a 2-point lead and you don't lose the lead, or it gets to a 1-point deficit, all right, now you get your guy back in there. But I have no problem with him taking guys like Duarte and Kessler, giving them an opportunity, seeing what they have. And if they have something, keep riding with them, build that confidence. If not, be like, hey, it's not your day to day. We'll try again, the next game or maybe 2 games from now.
Yeah, what you're trying to do is buy minutes, and if a guy can buy you minutes, then that's good. And I thought Kessler, like, you left him out there because he wasn't doing anything wrong and he was doing things right. And so you said, okay, look, he's not hurting me, so I'm gonna keep riding with him a little bit. I know for the game, just for sake of like looking at it, Kessler played 6 minutes and he ran a -1 in the plus minus. Chris Duarte played 2 minutes and 42 seconds and was a -4. And that's not, plus minus isn't everything, but in those moments you can kind of see where you're holding on to something. You're really close you're in a like what really amounted to me one of the most entertaining games we've seen all season. Just back and forth, bare knuckle, guys going at each other, big time shot makers, just like all kinds of like it was great basketball. If you sat there and didn't enjoy that game, then you shouldn't be watching basketball. That was just it was fun. It was nerve wracking. It was like it had everything brought into one thing. But if you can put Kessler Edwards out there and he can hold his own for 6 minutes in the second half, maybe he can hold his own for 12 minutes in a game. Maybe if he can hold his own for 12 minutes in a game and maybe he gets comfortable, starts hitting a couple of threes and you go up to 15 minutes, that's how you start to build something with a young player. And again, Kessler's 23 years old. Like people forget that. It seems like, he came to Sacramento after being with the Nets and then he's been here for 2 years, but he's still super young. And one of the youngest players on this team. So I think it's good to see somebody actually respond. And the other guy who has done this throughout the season is Keon. That when you give him these little couple of minutes and he shows you something, you feel like, okay, well, I don't have to pull him, and I can let the guy sit for a couple more minutes on the bench while he's doing his thing, and he's not costing us. And then eventually, I'm going to go back to my main guys, but for these couple of minutes, he's not doing anything that's hurting us, and I think it's a good way to sort of keep guys engaged and build your program a little bit.
Yeah, I get what both of you are saying. I just feel like Mike doesn't like really stick with that. Like it's the Keon Ellis. You use Keon Ellis as an example. It's like in it, like Keon's gone. He's nowhere to be found. Like and Davion's doing great, by the way. We should probably talk about that. Davion's doing tremendous. I've always liked Kessler Edwards and have been curious about what he can contribute and why he can't do the things that like Keon Ellis can do or Chris Duarte can do or guys like that. And like Mike giving this little 6 minute, he's not doing anything wrong. I don't know that we're even going to see Kessler Edwards play tomorrow. That's the and I recognize this is such a small part of what Mike Brown does. It's just always this weird little, hey, whose music's going to hit tonight? And last night it was Duarte in the first half, and I kind of felt like because I don't think Duarte played well. Like you could see like just things I didn't feel like were particularly good. It felt like he wasn't coming back. So it was like, what's Mike going to do in the second half? And hey, here's my brother Kessler Edwards out there.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting when he tinkers. But again, I would just continue to make the claim, and I think the numbers back it up that he tinkers with that half man. Like we always talk about the 9.5 man rotation, and it's always at half. And sometimes he tinkers with two people in that role if
I
one's
don't,
not
James.
working.
This just sounds weird. I'm throwing a flag. It just I don't know. I just want to acknowledge like I heard it and it was I'm throwing a flag, James. Go ahead. Mike's over here tinkering with two people at the same time.
It's a roughing the passer.
Illegal motion. Yeah.
After review.
I think you guys get what I'm saying. Like
yes, we do.
It's not even a half at that point. It's a quarter. So he's got 2 quarters and they've got to figure out how to play. And at the same time, like look, the normal 8 guys are playing. And sometimes the normal 7 guys are playing, and now Mike is making some sort of switches with who that 8th guy is. And right now it looks like it might be Davion for a little while. And you're right, Davion did play well last night. I thought he played well. He played okay the game before. He's starting to like sort of get that the fit in thing. Like how do you fit in? How do you make it look like you belong with everybody else? And I don't mean as in his talent is less than everyone else. It's just he doesn't do the same thing the same, motion, offense, everything. He just doesn't. And so I thought last night, stepping into 3 threes was huge. I think it helped that he was going up against Steph Curry, who he worked out with this summer and that he worked with his trainer and really worked on his shot. So, it's like, see, coach, this is what I've been doing. I can still shoot it. I do think there's a little bit of that to it. But again, just like Harrison Barnes, let's not excuse the fact that this could just be the Kings showing teams out there that, like, look, this guy's healthy. This guy can play. If you're interested, he's here, and he does have some skill, and this is what he can bring to the table. And the other thing I would say with Keon specifically, I don't know where the clock is with him, but he can only play in 50 games. Well, and I don't even know, he can only be active for 50 games, and he's at 28 games played at this point, but he's been active for more than that. So we're starting to run into that gray area where he's not going to be able to, you're not going to be able to use him at all in the second half of the season. And if you want to save up some of those games, at least to get you through the trade deadline again, you might need him for a handful of games around the trade deadline where where you're making moves and somebody gets traded and he's forced into playing, substantial minutes here and there, and you just don't know. So the Kings do have an open roster spot. They can alleviate that problem after we get past February 8th. And if they choose to do so, they can sign Keon to a regular everyday contract for the remainder of the season and then go find someone else to use that two-way contract on. But you always have to consider that sometimes there's more to a guy playing and a guy not playing, especially if two guys are pretty equal and as far as what they're doing on the court, but one of them has a clock that's ticking and the other one has a year and a half of contract left, and you can't use up all those games because then you run into the whole problem that you know you just won't be able to use him in the second half of the season. So yeah, it's complicated.
I feel like I'm a one man wolf pack with this. Well, maybe not. Maybe
boy.
it's
Oh,
me and are the
Wolfpack.
tag team champions of the world because
Well.
I think he feels the same way. And I really just feel like Davion could help this team. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
I think that given the opportunity, given consistent playing time, is he a perfect fit? No, but I think there's a lot of things that he can do out there on the floor that could help this team. I think he should have been playing. Um, and I think unless he's traded, obviously, I think he should be playing moving forward. But like I said, maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe we're in the minority with that one. I still think who he is as a basketball player is still something that could be beneficial to this team, and he should be in the rotation.
I understand your sentiment there, but I feel the same way about Keon Ellis. Like, I think Keon is longer, he's more athletic. He's really good defensively, and I know that on ball, that's where Davion is this incredible defender, but off ball, not so much. He's got some other things. He's got to work through it. I think Keon is a more consistent shooter. I think Keon is a better rebounder. Just an overall better athlete. He's better at playing the passing lanes. So I get what you're saying about Davion, and there are moments where Davion is totally useful, especially like look tomorrow when the Kings play the Dallas Mavericks. I think having Davion against Kyrie Irving is a good thing. I think having Davion that can go and mix it up, even though Luka Doncic shoots over the top of him, it's one of those matchups that has been somewhat beneficial to the Kings in the past. So sure, like get him ready for some of these games. And I think sometimes again we talk about like what Mike Brown might be doing here. It could just be situational. If you look at the 3 games that the Kings have played over the last, again, Atlanta should have had, a couple of small guards that you'd want to go up against. And then you of course have the Warriors with Steph, which we all know that Davion's played well against Steph in the past. Then you've got Dallas. So like there are a string of games here where he may just make more sense and it could just be completely situational. And you're also giving him an opportunity to kind of show the other 29 teams in the league what he can do.
We'll come back. We'll talk more with James. You brought up tomorrow what that might look like. The Kings got a big game ahead against Dallas, and Dallas has a very awkward back-to-back. So we'll talk about that with James Ham with D'Lo and KC return here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. Come on, James, get off the fence. Who's winning the Royal Rumble?
I have no idea. I like when I was young, I watched Royal Rumble.
Is okay.
Yeah, it's
What do you guys think the biggest?
a bunch of people.
Go ahead,
What do you guys think the biggest surprise of the day is going to be?
Jade.
When the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, I was gonna say Jade.
Probably Jade.
Oh.
Or Gold Dust.
Oh. Yeah, so Kyrie is out tonight, but there's no word whether he'll be out tomorrow night or not.
Yeah, I think Kyrie lost off season. I think he lost award eligibility
Oh
today.
no!
Oh, really?
I think
That's
so. He's missed a
17
lot of
games already?
games.
He's got.
Yeah, he's missed a lot of
right now he's
games.
dealing with a thumb injury. I think.
Yeah, well, and I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, Kyrie's been so good." Is he eligible for the All-Star game? Like, what is the
Yeah, I was
eligibility
wondering
for
the
that?
same thing. I mean, like, I don't know that there's I think there's a judgment. Like, if you miss
Oh.
17 games in the first half, can you be an all-star?
No, I mean, maybe you can, but, you
Yeah, I
know,
don't
people
know.
are talking about him being in over Fox. It's like, okay, well, Fox's numbers are better.
No,
You know.
Fox. Absolutely not.
Yeah,
Maverick.
well,
And this is what we kind of got into. Mavericks shouldn't have 2 all-stars. The hell's that all
No.
about?
No.
well, I mean,
No.
I think that argument, a lot of teams could make that about the Kings too. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if both are going to get in. I think it's possible both get in with injury replacements, but I don't know that both get in off the jump. So, but I do think they both deserve to be in.
The Lakers shouldn't have 2 all-stars.
Yeah, it's just tough because just how good AD has been.
Hmm.
So, I haven't looked at his stats in a while though.
Like 9th. He's been good. I couldn't have been that good.
Okay,
But
well, I mean,
he does.
he's averaging 25 with 12.2 rebounds, almost 4 assists, 1.2 steals, and 2.3 blocks. And AD has played in 44 games, which is probably the amount of games the Lakers have played this season.
Like, should AD get in over Cat?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's
Well,
Cat's numbers for the number 1 team
okay,
in the
so
world?
AD's missed 2 games. Huh. That's interesting.
Hey, I think I found out why I mean, it's interesting timing if I'm wrong, why the NBA hates the Kings.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
No, I'm serious.
Why do they hate us? What do we do?
South Carolina, LSU, 1.387 million people watched on average. Kings Warriors, 1.385 million people watched on average. The Kings aren't a draw anymore. They pulled Steph down. They pulled Steph out of the marquee status, and now they got to put him with Luka to get the numbers back.
Wow.
So take off the 2 teams that scored 176 and 175 respectively, and put the Warriors on with a more appropriate opponent.
That's funny.
That was on
Yeah.
Awful Announcing. I saw something about South Carolina, LSU. Like, wait, what's this? Yeah, they drew about the same numbers as Kings Warriors did.
Cat season is not as good, but he's going 22.7 and 8.8.
I can't believe this is the 18th game this season Kyrie's missed, and that he is officially ineligible if he does not play tonight. That's crazy talk.
He had some rough injury. He hurt his knee or foot really bad. And now he's got this situation. But I mean, at some point, like, I mean, and if people want to make the same argument for the Kings, that's cool. But the same argument applies for the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, if that's the argument, I understand it, but it can't be the argument for one set of teammates and then the other one. It's like, well, look what
I have a feeling that with Cat is if Chris Finch is coaching the All-Star team, then that's a leg up because he has a say in who's going.
That reminds me. Did you guys see the conundrum that is Eastern Conference coach?
No.
Oh yeah, does Doc have to coach that? Because it can't be the Celtics coach.
Can't coach.
Yeah.
Then it's supposed to be Griffin. But then you ask the question, is Doc going to do it? Is the interim going to do it? Are they going to go down to the 3rd place, Nick Nurse? Or are they going to have Missoula do it all over?
Just go to Nick Nurse.
Give it to have Thanasis, Giannis's brother, do it.
Just go to.
Oh, that, and you want to talk about ratings? I'm watching.
You see him in warm-ups taking a jumper, and he's like doing a dance after.
It is my guy Dave Yeager is landing in Milwaukee. That's good to see.
Saw that. Yeah.
So yeah, we were texting the week before about something completely random and different, and then he got back to me.
James.
All right.
We're coming back, James. I don't know how much of that you want to bring to the air. We certainly can, but former Kings coach Dave Yeager joining Doc Rivers again in Milwaukee.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I did. I sent him a text this morning just congratulating him, and I warned him of what Rudy Gay said. I guess when you get injured in Milwaukee, you get fat, which is what he said about OJ Mayo a few years ago. So I just warned Dave, like, hey, don't get injured, man. Don't get injured.
Oh, there you go.
That's great to see him back in the league, though. And look, the crazy thing is, I watched that whole Kings Hawks game. Well, the second half of the Kings Hawks, right next to Rex Kalamian the whole time. and now he could have gave me the inside story.
It was you. What was it was you, Rex, Vivek, and Anjali?
We absolutely.
Or where was 50?
We weren't
50 and MC Hammer. Weren't you with MC?
Were you by Hammer or no?
Hammer
that was on Thursday.
Oh, you weren't with Hammer though.
Well, no, I was nowhere
just
near
Vivek and Anjali.
No,
that's fine. No, that's good. That's good. We all know. Like, I don't know why you
did. You have your Hammer pants on? I could see you wearing Hammer pants to a game.
I'll bring them back.
I
figure you would bring them back. I will not bring back the Hammer pants.
Did you ever wear Hammer pants?
No, I did not. No,
I
did own MC. I did own the
Mm.
MC Hammer album like back then. Like not the album, but the CD.
Actual record? Oh, okay.
No, the CD.
I had the tape.
I had the tape and the CD.
And
I think I had the Let's Get It Started tape and the Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him CD.
And I was at a Christmas party at Vivek's house, and Hammer showed up and took over the DJ booth, which is in.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, James.
He just kind of threw that out. You guys talking about me.
I'm sorry.
That out there. Come on.
I'm sorry. You were at a Christmas party at Vivek's house?
Yes. I was invited to the Christmas party at Vivek's. When I was at NBC, I was invited to a Christmas party.
Now you're with lowly ass ESPN and you don't get invited anymore.
Well,
sorry, James.
Things and you don't get invited.
To these guys.
Yeah, we really don't.
Not out here.
We really don't.
No, but I was there, and so Vivek has his house is in Atherton. It's amazing, but it has a swimming pool, and one end of the swimming pool is a glass edge, and the basketball hoop is on the other side, sunk down into the ground, and so he has a full basketball court, or at least a half court, that looks into a glass window into the swimming pool. And so he had a DJ booth set up in his basketball court, and MC Hammer showed up and took over for the DJ and started going.
How did Hammer and Vivek get so close? Like,
Vivek,
I need
all them people in the Bay.
I need the origin stories of like Hammer's relationship with Drake and Jamie Foxx and
Vivek know all these people. You know Rick Ross.
Did you go say hi to Hammer?
Floyd?
No, I didn't say hi to Hammer. I did say hi to Vivek, and Ron Artest was there. But which is just random, the randomness that was happening. But no, I think Vivek has, first of all, he likes to be around celebrities. And he also
that's why I do a show with Kenny. I feel the same way.
Well, that, and he had Roger Craig was part of like Tibco when he had his software company forever. And so like he's close with Roger Craig. That used to be when Vivek first took over the team, what he would do. You would like go to talk to Vivek and like, introduce yourself and stuff. And he would say right away, he would go, "Hey, have you met my friend Roger Craig?" And you would turn to say hello to Roger Craig. You look back and Vivek had like thrown out an Acme hole on the ground, jumped through and had vanished. And you're like, wait, where did he go? Like, now it's me and I'm standing here with Roger Craig and I don't know what to say. Like Mr. Thousand, like, "Hi, Roger Craig." Like, I don't know. Like, just random. Yeah, Vivek has...
My favorite Vivek Ranadive moment in recent memory was him seeing Shams Charania. I'm
Oh,
not sure that
boy.
I have ever seen an individual
Oh,
as
man.
happy as Vivek Ranadive was
That
the
was
day
his
that
boy.
Shams Charania came sashaying through the Golden One Center with
Sashay.
flawless hair
Flawless
and a
hair.
great suit.
And that's when I told
Mm.
Jesse, hey, that's Shams.
That's
Manicured
Oh, right.
eyebrows.
and
Oh, my
Like
God,
Viv-
Shams.
flawless hair.
Vivek looked like Domas when he saw Shams, just smiling, just
That was
ear
his
to
boy.
ear.
That was his boy, Shams.
Couldn't be happier.
The other great moment,
Uh,
Vivek, that is an unbelievable moment, actually. He got 50 and Floyd together.
He did. Yeah, not
Game
everyone will
2.
get that, but yeah,
This
that's
guy got
major.
50 and Floyd. They were about to kill each other. Come on, man. Come watch the Kings in the playoffs with me.
he
They
also
weren't right next to each other, but they were pretty
I
close.
think they dapped up.
didn't he have
I think they dapped up and then like walked behind Vivek off the court.
didn't he also last year or the season before have Chuck Liddell and Brett Favre sitting next to each other?
Well,
one of
yeah,
his- not one of his best moments.
yeah, that's
There's also the time at Arco where he had Kelsey Grammer at the game.
yeah,
It's like-
that's wild.
Like
That's
Kelsey
wild.
Grammer's here? Like Fraser Crane is here in the building? Like what is happening? Yeah.
Well, like so the Kings be having these random guys. I don't know him, but I understand I think this guy's a massive star. Who Jesse's not in here. They had some soccer player here like 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
That
they
people
had
got, oh snap, they got
Vinicius Jr. or whatever. Yeah. Big time soccer player. I actually
Vivek-
had sent
be
that to
pulling
my
up.
son.
They be pulling up for Vivek, boy. I tell
No,
you.
hey,
That's true.
good for
Can't
everyone
wait to see who
involved.
comes to today's games.
Dude, that's crazy. That's
Well, that's
wild.
again, there's an MC Hammer tie right there. I mean,
MC
MC
Hammer's
Hammer
going
was
to be the DJ for the Sacramento A's for a year or
he
two or
was
whatever it is.
a ball
He was-
boy as like a small
Mhm.
child for the
Absolutely.
A's.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's where he got his, got a lot of his start.
We have a big matchup, second game of the 7-game road trip tomorrow versus Dallas. Of course, Dallas plays tonight in Atlanta. Shout out to Jason Anderson for pointing this weird route on Twitter. I missed it. The Hawks and the Mavericks, in fact, play tonight in Atlanta, and then Dallas will fly back and take on the Sacramento Kings tomorrow night in one of the stranger back-to-backs I think you'll come across. And James, we noted this. I think this will probably be said a lot over the course of the next, 39, 40 games, whatever we're at. This feels like a big game. Like it's always great to be the Warriors. It's always great to, get the vibes back up and all of that. The Warriors are a little further down right now. The Mavericks are right there in the mix with the handful of teams that I think are really just competing for one guaranteed playoff spot there in the 6th seed.
Yeah, this is a huge game. I mean, you're right there with the Mavs. And like, look, you want to get this thing rolling, right? You lost 4 in a
Mhm.
row. It would be really nice if you could string together a 4-game win streak to kind of make up and get you back to 9 games over. You got the Mavs, and then you've got the Grizzlies right afterwards, and then the road trip kind of cranks up. You've got the Heat, the Pacers, the Bulls, and the Cavs. But this is, to me, it's kind of like a tipping point game in a road trip, because if you start out 2-0 on the trip and pick up a win in Memphis, then you need one more to have a winning trip on a 7-game trip. And, you can probably swing that by one of these games, the Heat, the Pacers, the Bulls, the Cavs. But if you lose this game, all of a sudden you're looking at an uphill battle. And, what you don't want to do is, finish a trip 5-2, 2-5, or 3-4, or even, 1-6. And so I think it's a big game. It's a game where earlier this season we saw sort of I guess the vulnerabilities of the Mavs, right? They played in Sacramento, and both Luka and Kyrie both scored over 30, and the Kings beat them, and they beat them handily. And Sabonis and Fox both scored 30, but then it showed you sort of where the Kings are built, and they had other players contribute, and where Dallas is built, and they had nothing. And that was a big deal. And to be honest, you got to, when you got these teams that are right below you, or a team that's teetering like the Golden State Warriors, you got to hit them. You got to knock them backwards. You got to, have them fall into the spiral, because that's where Dallas is facing right now. They've got a 3-game losing streak coming into tonight. You know, if you can get them to lose 4 in a row and then 5 in a row, that would be huge. But again, losing 4 out of 5 is good for you as well. It drops them down in the standings and gives you a little breathing room. And every game matters right now, and you got to figure out a way to beat a team that's a little beat up.
No, I agree with you 100%, man. And now their Kings are in a situation where, once again, we talked about this before. They've lost 4 straight, and this is where losing the Bucks and Suns game really messes with you, because I was trying to think back. Aside from Indiana and Philly, we can go back and say, man, they've put together like 10 games where I think they played solid. They played some good basketball. Last night in the third quarter, before the game was over, it was still way in the balance. I said, the Kings are playing great tonight. They are playing some great basketball. And you want to be able to see the fruits of your labor with saying, we're playing great basketball and look at the games that we've won. Well, at this point, they're 2-4 in their last 6, even though I think they've been playing good basketball in that stretch. So you want to get the wins so you can say, not only are we playing good basketball, but we're able to convert them into wins. And that's how you get momentum going, in my opinion, and start feeling good about yourself and digging yourself out of the hole that you were in a little bit.
Yeah, and we talked about like learning how to win, right? And you could say last night that the Kings got lucky because, flat out, uh, Kevin Herter breaking 2 free throws in the final seconds. That's a big deal, right? But I think what you can also learn from that is basketball is played on both ends of the court. And, if you go back to the Bucks game, they missed 3 free throws in the final 18 seconds. But it also took Damian Lillard drilling a 36-footer to beat you where you didn't play the right defense on him. You didn't, Sabonis stood back at the 3-point line instead of rushing up to take on Damian at half court. And in this game specifically against Golden State, you had this play where, Fox is playing defense. He's fighting through a screen, but then Kevin Herter shifts off, instantly knows that Steph is going for the game winner. He gets big. Fox is chasing, and you force Steph into a turnover and you win the game. It doesn't just have to be that, Kevin Herter hits both free throws and now you got a 3-point lead and you win the game. Sometimes, learning how to win means that you have to come up with the crucial stop in the crucial moment to come out victorious. And so again, I think this is good. It is good to have really tightly contested games. And if they don't lose those 2 games to, with the 2 games that were super close, if we're talking about like the Suns game and the Bucks game, right? If they don't lose those 2, you don't know if they win that game last night. Like you are learning from these things and you are taking away and building on who you are as a squad. And so I think it's good. We're starting to see this team kind of turn the page and show that they can come up with big plays and big moments. And I think they had 3 stops in a row to come out with that win.
And that stuff, if I feel like that stuff goes a long way. And I think De'Aaron kind of even laughed at Kevin Herter missing the free throw, saying that the guys were already joking about it, Herter and Monk. And Herter's line was something along the lines, well, mine was different because at least we won the game where I missed the free throws. So it sounds like that, because we questioned whether they're maybe, it looks like they've got the free throw issue. They're just knocking down free throws, just like nothing, knocking down free throws. Now you get into a late game free throw. It's like, oh man, Herter missed both. That was more free throws than they missed the whole game. Herter missing both of them as an 80% shooter, following up on Malik missing a couple as a 90% shooter. I think the fact that they're laughing it off is a good thing. Obviously, you can laugh it off when you win. Steph turns around, throws a shot that goes to the basket. No one's telling jokes about missing free throws. But this is the type of stuff where, yeah, Domas is smiling. Mike Brown is sitting in the media room asking questions during press conferences. It's those types of difficult wins that can send you in the right direction on a road trip, or not just a road trip, but a season in general.
Yeah, you can learn a lot from it, right? And there's always that, it's the brilliance of it, but it feels much better to learn while you're winning than it does to learn while you're losing.
Yeah.
But still, it does. That's true. like they were able to come out of that. You do walk out of there with a really bad taste in your mouth if you lose. And with the idea that Big Brother just got over on you again, and you lost these season, you would have lost the season series to him. And so it does matter. And now look where you're at. Not only did you knock the Warriors down just another, clip, but if somehow the Warriors catch fire, somehow they make a big trade or whatever happens, and the Warriors get good in the second half of the season and track you down and you finish with the same record, this matters. Like the 2-2 record matters. Now you go to, the second tiebreaker, the third tiebreaker. You just don't want to lose all those tiebreakers to teams around you. And I think, you've already lost them to the Pelicans. You're way up on OKC. You've split with Minnesota. You're up, I think, 1-0 on Denver. Like these things will matter in the end. You've got to find ways to pick up as many of these wins, even tomorrow. You got 4 games against Dallas this year, but you're already up 1-0 in the series. When you already know that you're going to lose the series likely to the Clippers and to you've already lost it to the Pelicans. So all of these things are part of like a larger picture that you have to look at going into games.
What'd you think about Fox last night? I thought that was the best De'Aaron Fox we've seen since probably Milwaukee. He was pretty good in Phoenix too, but it had been a while since we've seen him with that type of bounce to his step. What'd you think of how he played?
I think one of the best things that I saw was Fox chirping at somebody in the stands. I don't know who it was, but it was right over the Warriors bench, it looked like, and he was laughing and pointing and having a good time with somebody. He just looked like he was back. He just looked like whatever the weight of the world was dragging him down, like he's moving on and saying, okay, let's just forget this and let's move on. And I think that's a good thing for him. And I really do, at the end of the day, like your mental health and how you feel, like you can say, well, he's a pro, he should be able to shut that off. Some players can't. And I think we've seen him not only not play all that well, but look like he's not happy about playing, about what's happening, and just not happy in general. And it's good to see a guy find a smile.
Our good friends over at 95.7 said this morning that Domas is empty calories. James, is Domas in fact the Snickers bar rather than the nutritious selection of calories we thought before?
If he's empty calories, what is Draymond Green?
That is literally everyone's response. Everyone to a T said, wait, don't you guys?
So what is, if he's empty calories, what is Andrew Wiggins? Like,
Andrew's struggling a little bit. Is
that like a Diet Coke? I mean, like seriously,
he's having a tough time. Yeah, Andrew Wiggins having a tough time.
I just think I think they have to get over it. Domantas Sabonis flat out is like, look at the NBA MVP like rank. They have a ladder going right now. He's number 7. Like, and that's in a league where he's being disrespected. This is a top 10 player in the NBA, if not top 15. Like he's one of the best players in the league. That's it. There's 450 something players in the league. Like the only guy who's better on the Golden State Warriors, straight up, the only player that is better is Steph Curry. No one else on that team is better than Domantas Sabonis. Period. That's it. There's no discussion. So I don't know why, like empty calories, whatever. You know what? Like all those points Steph scored, he scored them in a loss. How many points does he score in a loss? Are those empty calories? Because they sure do. Like, just because you're scoring, like every bad team has a score. And I hate to tell you, but the Golden State Warriors are a bad team. Like, so what are we saying? Like that? No, come on now. Steph Curry's great. Domantas Sabonis is great. Like, just like stop with the nonsense.
Maybe we broke the morning roast.
Well,
someone get Kevin O'Conley.
Yeah, Kevin O'Connell.
Kevin O'Connell. Yeah, O'Connell. Yeah, tell him to tweet that the Sacramento Kings broke the morning roast.
I know Sabonis went to work on them boys last night. They couldn't guard him after the Kings smacked up the Warriors last night.
Yep,
beat the brakes off them boys
last night. That's what they did. Winners get to tell their own story. That's what it is.
To the victors go the spoils.
I
beat him into submission.
I posed this question earlier. Do you have any concern that, like, will Domas score at the end of a game? Like, he controlled everything last night. He was in full control of that fourth quarter, and I never felt like he was a threat to score. He took one field goal attempt, and man, it was an important one, but he just really facilitated that offense and never looked to score.
I mean, he finished with 18 points, and he hit the game
No,
winner.
I understand. I'm just specifically talking about the fourth quarter. And that play was just beautifully run for him, but there were so many times where he had the ball in the low post or the high post, and he would work. And I'm not saying this is right or wrong. He'd find Herter, he'd find Barnes, he'd find like whoever. And there was a point, like about 6 minutes left. I'm like, Domas isn't even trying to score. He's trying to find everybody else.
I think part of the problem that he had was that he had 5 fouls. And, the way he plays, he knows that, especially one of those fouls came on Draymond Green just flopping in the middle of the key. And I think for him, he's honestly thinking, if I go back down, one of these dudes are gonna like fly into the third row and act like I killed him. And like he probably had that in the back of his mind. He also had the fact that he had to set clean screens because they kept calling him on the offensive foul on the screen. So like I
Never
don't
called
really
him the other way though.
Never.
Yeah. And hey, look, at the end of the day, he is not a natural scorer. Like I think that's like when you again, like, we talk about stuff like this all the time. Like my son played center back forever. His instinct as a basketball player, as a soccer player, is to get back. It's not to go try to score a goal. It's not to go get a header. It's always to protect. And I think with Domas, his initial instinct is always to set somebody up to hit the big shot, to put people in the right position and to get the best look possible. And sometimes that's him, but oftentimes he understands that he gets a lot of foul calls, that he misses free throws, and sometimes it's better that you're getting someone else a clean look, and that's how it goes. And it's just not who he is as a player. He's like the opposite of Cam Thomas. Like Cam Thomas can't do anything but think about scoring. And that's just not who Domas is. His first instinct is to set somebody up. Monk's first instinct is to set somebody up, but he's also really good at passing. It's just a different style of player. And I don't have any problems with it because you can't have everybody on your team be greedy and just want the bucket.
Kings won, but we are all Niner fans now. Let's go.
Well, I don't think all
Let's
of it.
go.
All right. Well,